Lots of people getting in touch on this, including Angela, who says, I'm very concerned regarding BBC Question Time and BBC politics biased towards the left on most subjects, in Angela's opinion. Their persecution of Reform UK and its leader needs to stop. It's dangerous and has led to people saying Nigel's anti-Semitic. The Talk News confirming this opinion. Well, Angela's referring to the fact that Holocaust survivors have called on Nigel Farage to apologise over his alleged anti-Semitic comments. We're going to talk about that with the representative of Reform UK a little bit later on. But just on the migration controversy and the fact that the number of illegal migrants in Britain is still unknown, and the news in an interview with The Telegraph that the Border Security and Asylum Minister has said that children of failed asylum seekers will be deported even if they're born in the UK. Let's talk to Tony Smith, the former head of the UK Border Force. Tony, good morning.
Morning, Peter.
What do you make of the Question Time row, first of all?
Well, I do wonder, one of your callers said how they select their audience, Peter, and I expect you're wondering that too, because I don't tend to watch it so much now. I used to watch it religiously, but I don't know how they say they get a cross-section from all the political parties, right?
I was saying this earlier, Tony. I used to work on Question Time, actually. I was senior producer on Question Time about 15 years ago. I was 27 at the time. And what happened was that literally people ring in, fill out a form and say there's certain things. You kind of got to believe them. But what was absolutely clear is that the left were always much more vocal, and there appeared to be more of them, despite the efforts of a very good team behind the scenes.
Well, I find it hard to believe that a couple of, illegal entrants, well, they may have status now, somehow, magically appeared.
Well, they didn't magically appear. It was deliberate that they were on, and the BBC have given us a statement saying, as immigration continues to be a primary concern for people in the UK, Question Time held a special episode in Dover with panellists from across the political spectrum and a local audience with a range of views and experience. Over 20 audience members asked questions and contributed to the debate, including 2 people with direct experience of the asylum system in the UK who have been granted refugee status. So it was deliberate to put them in the audience. There's no kind of sort of magic formula that put them in there.
Okay, well, I mean, fair enough. Then
is that the right decision? Do you think?
Well, I mean, everyone's entitled to free speech, aren't they? Including people that have got, that come on a small boat and if they've got status here. I mean, I'm assuming they have got some sort of status.
Yeah, they've got refugee status. Yeah. But they arrived illegally. Yeah,
they did, and this is where the divisions come through politically, don't they, Peter? In terms of what the Zia, the Reform representative, was saying. Well, look, we're not interested in illegal entry. Actually, we don't think you should come to this country illegally at all. And if you do come to this country illegally, we are going to deport you. That is not the same position as the current government are taking, that you can come to this country illegally by a small boat and enter our asylum system and claim human rights. I think that is a very stark difference in political approach between what Reform are saying and what the current government are saying. But that does mean that Reform, if they are elected, will have to go through some very, very significant changes in the way we run our borders and our immigration systems.
And they've said that. They've laid that out, and they've been very clear, and Zia Yusuf did so last night, about fundamental reform, including withdrawing from the European Convention on Human Rights.
Yeah, and that is the stark choice. I think we do need to get this over, Peter, if we can, to people about what that means, and then they can make their own mind up about. But that does mean, I think, anyway, for what it's worth, and I've been in this business an awful long time, we do have to demur from the ECHR, because anybody who makes it here will be able to make a claim to stay if they come on a small boat. We do need to look at the Refugee Convention and invoke the Article 31 powers that, you must make a claim immediately, not halfway down the road when you're here. And you can't make a claim if you've come from a third country because you're not in immediate fear. So those are the sorts of things that we have to buy into to back Reform's plan. And that will also involve some changes, basic changes to the Constitution in terms of, the House of Lords, the Supreme Court, the powers of the judiciary, which mainly are the main reasons we don't remove more people, are because they are allowed to stay by the courts and not by the Home Office.
And it's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that about the courts as well, because I wonder if the European Convention on Human Rights, if withdrawal from that, which I support by the way, would be the magic bullet, because is there not going to be a load of case law, or there not going to be a load of courts in this country anyway who will look at British law yes, of course, incorporating European law, but there'll be a lot of British law that would have to be re-legislated, and maybe Reform UK government would do this to change all the British law, never mind the European law, that allows all this to happen.
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, these conventions, you know, the 51 Convention on Refugees and the ECHR have now been incorporated into UK statute. And so we would have to look at our own laws, and they would have to be repealed, in addition to taking a different approach to the European and international conventions. So it is a pretty big, it's a big task. But I mean, what I said to you before, Peter, what's happened over the years is that there's been this sort of Gordian knot tied around our border by human rights lawyers and judicial overreach, which basically disempowers a lot of our enforcement activity, both at the border and inland, in terms of removals. And that was not the case back in the 70s and the 80s. As I said to you before, when I was an immigration officer, which I was, I had a badge and I was empowered to arrest people and remove them instantly from the country and detain them. And nobody claimed asylum or human rights back then. And that was 20 years after these 51 conventions were signed. So over a very long period of time, over decades really, successive governments have allowed these conventions to be incorporated, and it will take a really big reform, that's what they call themselves, to do it. It's not impossible, but it is a big ask, Peter.
I wonder what you make about what the immigration minister, one of the immigration ministers, has said. The Border Security and Asylum Minister, Alex Norris, has said that anyone who did not have the right to be in the UK would be removed. He pledged the Home Office would ramp up the removal of families whose refugee claims have been rejected. He says children of failed asylum seekers will be deported even if they were born in the UK. I mean, is that actually possible under the current legislation? Because I'm not sure it is.
It's really difficult to do that, Peter. It is possible because you don't get British citizenship if if you weren't born here and a parent and your parent was lawfully stated. You don't get British citizenship. We changed that back in the 80s because we had a lot of people pregnant women coming over here and giving birth.
Yeah.
And then saying, well, you've got to let me and the baby stay now because he's British and I'm so legally it is possible. Practically, it's almost impossible to remove a family from this country. Mm-hmm. And that's been the case for some time now because of the policies. We're not allowed to detain families.
And I do wonder how that could actually be turned around, especially as the number of illegal migrants in Britain is still unknown because ministers don't have basic data to track who is here. That's a warning from the Migration Observatory at the University of Oxford.
Yeah, so we don't know. The reason we don't know that, I mean, and I do a bit of work in different countries chairing conferences, is because we don't have a biometric entry-exit system in this country. So we don't match our inbound to our outbound records. It's all possible now with technology. Simply take a photograph on your way in, take a photograph on your way out, and we will know exactly how many people are entering and leaving this country, so rather than this ONS guesswork that we have. So that's why, like overstayers, you can come through an e-gate now. Most countries can come through an e-gate, non-visa countries. You won't see an officer. And you will be deemed to have been given entry for 6 months. Whether you've left or not, you won't know unless you have a biometric entry-exit system. So we could do that. It wouldn't cost the earth, and we'd have a much better idea about how many overstayers are here. But I think you'll find the overstayers in this country far outweigh, Peter, the numbers that are coming on small boat or illegal entry. But we just simply don't know that because we haven't invested in that sort of technology.
Tony, thank you. That's Tony Smith, former head of the UK Border Force.